Hey guys, I'm going to be doing a book review on Golden Lion by Wilbur Smith. Golden Lion is part of the Courtney series by Wilbur Smith and Giles Christian. Hal Courtney is the captain of a ship, beloved by his crew, and soon to be a father. When his wife, the warrior Judith, is kidnapped on a stop in Zanzibar by a former enemy he thought dead, Hal is willing to risk everything to get her back. Hal and Judith's story takes them through the slave markets of Zanzibar, through African desert, and the perils of the sea as they make their way back to one another. First off, I won this book through a Goodreads giveaway, so thank you very much, Goodreads. First up, a quick disclaimer before I get into my total thoughts on this book. When I first signed up to win this book on a Goodreads giveaway, I didn't do my research prior to signing up. Nowadays, I tend to make sure I kind of look up a book really quickly before I sign up for it. I had no idea that this book was part of a series. Yeah, guys. This book is actually the 14th published book in this series, book number 14. But chronologically, it's supposed to be read as the second book in the series. So yeah, be warned. That being said, though, weirdly enough, I was never confused in this book, which I think is a very good thing. There was never a point in this book that something was going on, characters might have said something, whatever. There was never a point in this book that I was thinking, wait, what? I feel like I'm missing something, I'm confused. That was never the case, which is very surprising. Like I said, this is the 14th published book in the series, but technically you're supposed to read it as the second book. But I think maybe that's what made it easy to get into, since it was the second book, technically, you know? The thing is, though, I don't intend on picking up any more books in this series, even though I did highly enjoy this book. I had a great fun time with it. I found it really well written. I thought the historical backdrop was really well done, and the research and whatnot. And I found a lot about it to be kind of unique and interesting, kind of taking place in a location and a time period that sometimes I don't typically read about, you know. Even though I did enjoy a lot about this book, I just don't intend on continuing with this series, unfortunately. This one book is kind of good for me. I have so many other books and book series that I gotta get through, and yeah, this is going to be kind of a casualty that I will not be moving on with, unfortunately. So moving on to more of my review of the book, I really like this book. I found it really fun and thrilling, really action-packed. I don't think there was ever really a dull moment to this book. I felt like there was always something constantly going on. The action was constantly moving forward. Your characters are in constant peril. Oh my god. Now, yes, there are some moments you get to breathe for a little bit. You do get a moment to breathe. You get a little bit of character development, character relationships, you know. You do get those moments. But yeah, then it does. It quickly goes right back into like something crazy going on, you know, and your characters are once again in peril. I also really enjoyed the location slash era of this book as well. At some point in this narrative, it's mentioned that King Charles II is King of England, so I kind of took that to mean that this book took place somewhere between 1660 to 1685. You know, the book never gives you a direct date, but yeah, the fact that King Charles II is King of England at this time period, it's like you can kind of rule that down where in time this book takes place. So you're kind of established that. And yeah, our main character is an Englishman, but the book, there's never any part of this book that takes place in England. The entire setting of this book is in Africa, which was pretty exciting. I liked that aspect of it. And I know a lot about European history during this time period, so I really found that quite refreshing to kind of take place in a time period that I'm familiar with, but on a completely different, you know, continent or whatever in Africa. I really found that unique and refreshing, and getting to explore that type of history, you know, compared to all the European history that I'm aware of. Our main character is an Englishman named Hal Courtney. He comes from a line of distinguished men and whatnot. He is the captain of a ship. He's been through some recent battles. You get the idea, I guess, what happened back in the first book in the series. What is chronologically supposed to be book one in the series. He's been through some stuff. He's fallen in love with a woman named Judith, who is like a warrior. Yeah, and he's about to get married to her, and he's about to become a father as well. On top of that, he's about to have a very exciting life, and he just wants to settle down and have a nice life. But of course, like I said, your characters are constantly in peril, so there's got to be action and chaos that happens before he can have all these nice things in his life. Yeah, Hal, I really liked him as a character. He's charming, he's handsome, he's charismatic. He's dashing. I feel like I'm repeating the same things. Am I repeating? I feel like I'm repeating. There's something about him that's very like kind of like a swashbuckler, but he's not a pirate. He's not a pirate, but there's almost something about him that comes across that way. Like he could easily be a pirate if he wanted to. He's fierce. He's loyal. He can have a good time. He can laugh. He's not like super serious on occasion, but yeah, when he needs to be serious, he will be serious. And yeah, if you do something that's going to hurt someone he loves, whether that's his woman or his friends, he will kill you with vengeance. I also loved his wife, Judith. She was wonderful. She is definitely an equal to him in every way. I think they're both warriors. Yeah, she is fierce and independent. She has a very outspoken mind. Yeah, she's described as being very pretty and beautiful. Yeah, her and Hal just really, you can definitely see that connection there. And like I said, though this is chronologically book 2, I really fell for their relationship rather quickly in this narrative, because I think in the first book with their relationship, that's all established and set up there, and I think that was built up to. So yeah, I don't have that build up in this book, but still, despite not having that build up, like how they kind of met and whatnot, like the circumstances, I still really fell in love with them as a couple. And as I mentioned, because I was not confused about anything going on in this book, I did appreciate that Wilbur Smith / Giles Christian, whichever one of these guys wrote the book, yeah, because I feel like it was Giles Christian who wrote the majority of this book, let's be real. It's kind of like a James Patterson situation. James Patterson, I have a feeling, doesn't really write his own books. It's always the other person who writes. But yeah, I was never kind of confused about anything, and I appreciated that the book didn't spend lengthy amount of paragraphs rehashing what happened in the previous book to catch you up as the reader. I kind of really didn't need that. Yeah, maybe just a quick line of dialogue or a quick line in a paragraph or something, maybe kind of mentioning something. That was all I needed. I didn't need like whole pages upon pages to do like a plot summary of the previous book, So yeah, like Hal and Judith's relationship, it kind of just threw context, what was going on, how they were around each other, how comfortable they were around each other, the way they spoke to each other. That was kind of enough right there to kind of give me those context clues, like, okay, I get the picture with them. So fairly early in this book, I guess, because I already kind of spoiled it. I guess it's not a spoiler, because I mean this plot synopsis right here on the flap explains it. The big moving action of this narrative is that at some point in the novel, Judith does get kidnapped. And there's like a whole big thing there that does kind of pertain to events that did happen in the previous book. But once again, I was never confused. This narrative did a really good job of kind of giving me those context clues once again. So yeah, the reasons why Judith is kidnapped are explained really well. And yeah, of course, Hal is like, oh my God, my woman, my unborn child, I gotta go after them. I'm gonna kill whoever took them, And yeah, this brings back into the fold this former enemy of Hal, so I guess was in the previous book. Once again, I wasn't confused about this former enemy. I was definitely terrified of him, but I definitely saw kind of why Hal did not like this guy. This former enemy is kind of behind the kidnapping of Judith and whatnot. So yeah, it's Hal. This whole book is Hal being like, hey, I need to go find my woman, get her back, I'm gonna kill people along the way if they get in my way. And a lot of the primary action of this book does take place in either Zanzibar or like on ships at sea. And at one point we do got a bit of like a desert area. So the narrative is kind of hopping around in various different places through Africa as Hal and Judith are kind of being transported around all over the place. They got to figure out how to get their way back to each other. Hal and Judith's love is tested to the extreme in this narrative, let's put it that way, because what are they willing to do to get back to each other? You know, what are the sins they are capable of doing, all in the name of getting back to each other and protecting those they love? And yeah, the main enemy, the main bad guy in this book, he goes by the name of the Buzzard. And there's definitely some wonderful descriptions of this character, some things that went down with him and Hal in the previous book. Once again, I wasn't confused about any of that. Yeah, the Buzzard makes for a absolutely terrific villain in this book, you guys. Oh my god, he is truly despicable and just grotesque. I love him. Oh. So yeah, overall, I don't really have too terribly much to say about this book at the end of the day. Overall, I really did genuinely like it. I like the historical context and backdrop. I really like the characters. I like the change in location for me. You know, like I said, I typically read stuff within like Europe and whatnot. So yeah, taking place on Africa was really unique and refreshing. I loved kind of the historical context there in regards to that. I just really liked this book. It was really fun, thrilling, action-packed. I liked the romance and the characters, the villain. But yeah, unfortunately, like I said, I do have to sacrifice not continuing with this series. I just have too many other books to read. But yeah, if you have read Wilbur Smith in the past, or if you've read a scattering of all his other novels and you had great experience with him in the past, then this is probably another book that you need to add to your list, because I think you'll really like it. So you guys, that's it for my thoughts and feelings on Golden Lion. In the comments below, have you guys read this book? Do you plan on reading it? Just let me know your thoughts down below. So that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye guys.